Let's go back into the fact that companies prefer to operate with direct investment, especially wholly owned, because sub-operations usually lower their costs, they lessen the possibility of developing competitors, and they free them from the global strategies. They're able to control the knowledge. The foreign direct investment is the most preferred method for doing this. Some advantages of collaborative arrangements, however, are that the company operating internationally is able to spread and reduce costs, with the other partners, allow a company to specialize in its primary competencies and avoid certain competition. They can secure vertical and horizontal links that they learn from other companies. The basic concern here is ideas, and a lot of times I hear, especially newbies, saying, "I have an idea and I need to protect it." I'm sorry, but I haven't really seen a lot of very new ideas. Usually, an idea is a spin, is a takeoff, is an addition to what has already been on the market, and that's good because ideas that are too radical don't sell. Can you really protect them once they're on the market? Not really. Somebody will copy it. You can protect a lot of things, especially the intellectual capital behind the ideas, but when the product, in other words, merchandise, hits the market, in the sense of a hands-on type of product, it's free for all. It's very easy to reproduce. It's very easy to copy. Intellectual property in terms of software, in terms of, for example, music, or books, written documents, and things like that, are also easier to protect, because you can very much verify that that is mine. There's no way that this information can have been accidentally developed by someone else. So basically what I'm saying is collaborative arrangements are very beneficial. Like I said, they're not preferred, but they do have the advantage of getting specific assets, overcoming the legal constraints, the diversification among the countries, minimizing exposure in risky environments. All these type of things can happen when you enter a foreign market with collaboration, in other words, with a partner in one form or another. Let's take a look at the different types. The forms of foreign operations differ, of course, in how many resources a company commits and the proportion of the resources committed at home rather than abroad. Collaborative arrangements reduce a company's commitment, basically. Although the type of collaborative arrangement a company chooses should match its strategic objectives, the choice often means a trade-off among objectives. Take, for example, licensing. Licensing is the granting of a company the use of some rights, such as patents or copyrights or trademarks, usually for a fee. And this means establishing foreign production and reaching foreign markets that may minimize the licensor's capital outlays and prevent the free use of assets by other companies, thereby allowing the receipt of assets from other companies in return. Basically, this means that the income from some markets in which the exportation or investment is not feasible. The idea of getting a copyright or a Circle R, a trademark, a registered trademark, is very easy. I recently got a Circle R, a registered trademark on a logo design, and I was very surprised that for the German market it cost me 308 euros. If I'd wanted to do this for the international market, I would have had to do it through Switzerland, and it would have cost something like 600 and something euros. So, securing the registration of a trademark or the registration of intellectual property is really not as difficult as most people imagine. What's difficult is the actual defense, the actual going after the violators. That's where it becomes much more tricky, and that's where, in my opinion, collaboration is a very good thing to do, because you have people on the ground who are looking out for the protection of this product. Franchising is another form which is very often used. It differs from licensing in that the granting of intangible property, for example, the trademarks, requires the franchisor to assist in the operation of the business on a continuing basis. Management contracts are another example. This means the company can secure income by managing a foreign operation while providing very little capital of themselves. Basically, they just manage the operations in the other country. Joint ventures, very typically, is a type of special collaborative arrangement in which two or more organizations have equity in a venture. What is often misunderstood is that a joint venture is usually time related. There is a factor involved where they say we're going to do this for 2 years or until the end of a specific product here. Joint ventures usually are not something that's going to become a collaborative arrangement over a long period of time. If it were, it would be set up usually as a management agreement or something else. I've been in a joint venture for many years. We've been splitting the revenue from particular product 60-40, me getting 60 and him getting 40. And, I wanted to go 50-50. I wanted to give him a bigger share. I wanted him to participate more. And he kept telling me, yes, Michael, I'll do that. I'll participate more. I'll get more into the product. I'll be your feet on the ground. I'll make this happen. And it didn't. And so every year the division of our revenue has gone from 60-40 to 70-30 to, at the moment, it's probably about 90-10. So I predict next year I'm not going to be working with this guy anymore. Had we had a management contract or a licensing agreement, it would have been much different. Okay. Equity basically allows the company to take control of the collaborative arrangements, and it solidifies the contract, like I said. A common motive for jointly owned operations is to take advantage of complementary resources. In other words, one company can use what the other company has. One company might be strong in sales, the other company might be strong in design and implementation, for example. Problems very, very often occur in collaborative arrangements when partners place different levels of importance on and have different objectives. They find a shared ownership arrangement difficult to control, and they worry about the partners putting too little or taking too much out of the operation. They misunderstand each other, and the result of the different country or company cultures here. And I find this very much to be the case. I've done a lot of intermediation where the basic is the problems have been simply communication. The French have misunderstood the German and their intentions. Take a very simple example. Recently I dealt with a case where the French were pretty much convinced that the Germans were worthless because they didn't send an email every week. And the Germans basically had the idea is we made the arrangement, we made the contract with you, we negotiated it to an end, we expected you to do it during this appointed period of time. The French, on the other hand, have had a different operating culture. They said, fine, but you have to check up on us every now and then. We went 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks with hearing nothing from you, and we figured you were no longer interested. Really simple communication issues that have to do with the difference in corporate cultures, and in this case also with the communication methods between the countries. When we talk about cooperation, collaborative efforts, my favorite example is probably the code shares among airlines. Airlines like United, Lufthansa have the Star Alliance, United Airways, who else is along these lines here? They have a so-called code sharing system, and in theory, You can move from one airline to the other seamlessly. As an insider into this world, I can tell you that this does not happen very often here. The systems are not integrated. Usually what it actually takes is someone calling up, a United person calling up the reservation on their computer, talking like on telephone to a Lufthansa person who puts it back in. The interfaces are not as you would imagine here. The code sharing simply means we're going to cooperate with each other, but the ownership of the product as it moves from A to B, in case of an airline, the passenger, as they transfer from one place to the other, is going to be done through a human interface, because this basically keeps the customer in control, the company in control of where the customer is at a certain point in time. You just can't have a complete motorized system where everything works this way when humans are involved. This works better with products, and later we'll talk about, for example, radio tag products. They can move anywhere in the world because there's a radio signal going out on them and the companies can track them there. Humans are not that way, and so the code sharing arrangement has to be as cumbersome as it is in order to make sure that the passenger is actually at the terminal, standing in front of them saying, I want to move from A to B and this needs to change in my reservation. So collaborative arrangements, happen all the time. I'm thrilled with the advent of web conferencing, telepresence systems, where some of the communication issues can be eliminated, because in the end that seems to be the bulk of the problem.